What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans making plans for if Deshaun Watson does not play. All that and much more coming your way right now! Hey, Trash Talkers, it's Mike here. Over 93% of you who view our show each and every day are not subscribed to the channel. If you could hit that red subscribe button, it would help us out tremendously, and it is completely free for you guys. If you want to stay up to date with our daily content, then click that bell icon and you will be notified every time we go live. Nick and I both really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and we can't wait to keep making more daily content for you. All right, Nick, well, the Houston Texans are still weeding through all of the mess that was made by Bill O'Brien, and that started with the draft and talking about, the players that they needed to get onto this roster and everything like that. They had very few draft picks, and with the very few draft picks they had, the first of which they used on a quarterback, which is surprising when you have a player by the name of Deshaun Watson under center. But do they actually have Deshaun Watson under center for 2021? I think that's the big question, and I think we need to have a little conversation about whether the Houston Texans believe that Deshaun Watson will end up playing in 2021.
Well, when we still look at the overall issue with Deshaun Watson, he doesn't want to be in Houston. That is first and foremost. He doesn't want to be there. He's still adamant about not playing for the team as much as Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play for the Packers. Deshaun Watson does not want to be in Houston. He wants to be traded somewhere else, but he's kind of an untouched asset right now for many teams. And so the Houston Texans can, try to say we're going to hold on to him and whatnot, but then you have to look at the legal issues. Is the NFL going to step in at some point and say he's going to be put on the commissioner's exempt list? Is he even available for them? And they've already made some plans previously in the offseason by signing Tyrod Taylor to a 1-year contract, saying we have a backup plan in place. We don't expect Deshaun Watson to play this season, and so it's going to be Tyrod Taylor to take over. And now, when we enter the draft, taking Davis Mills in the 3rd round, we're now saying Deshaun Watson is in a much worse spot than we actually thought. We now need to groom our next future franchise quarterback in Davis Mills. He's a guy with a lot of upside who didn't play much in college. He had some knee injuries that held him out. That's why he didn't get the starting job until his 3rd year at Stanford. He only played in 11 games and over 2 seasons, only had 18 touchdowns. He's got some talent. He's got the size, but he's got a lot to work through. And so they're taking a flyer on Davis Mills, but they think that he could be the answer to this entire issue if Deshaun Watson indeed is not going to be coming back to Houston.
Yeah, I take a look at kind of where we are with the whole Deshaun Watson situation, and I'm looking at there's still 25 pending cases against him from women that claim that he some way, shape, or form sexually assaulted them. And these are all civil cases. And again, I will continue to say it every video we bring it up. I believe in due process. I believe in the sentiment that you are innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. And at this point, I still believe that Deshaun Watson should be awarded that idea of innocence, because we don't know any of the facts. We don't know any of the details that have come out. And at this point, that's not for us to figure out. But the Houston Texans have to be doing their due diligence, and getting Tyrod Taylor, getting Davis Mills in the quarterback room is certainly doing their due diligence. And when I think of Nick Caserio going there and coming from the Bill Belichick school of New England Patriots dynasty, you know that Nick Caserio is all about being prepared and making sure that he has everything in place just in case the inevitable happens. When Brady got suspended for Deflategate, we had Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett in the quarterback room. Now they have Davis Mills and Tyrod Taylor there for Deshaun Watson. I think that Nick Caserio is familiar with this ability to prepare for the unknown, especially when it comes to Roger Goodell and the commissioner being able to impose whether it's a suspension, whether it's the commissioner's exempt list. You don't really know how this is going to play out, but overall, I believe the Houston Texans have made a good push to get a quarterback under center for the 2021 season. It's not like they were going to really compete anyway. They could have made a push for a playoff spot with Deshaun Watson. Without him, I think that goes out the window. And at this point, they're still in full rebuild mode. It's interesting because I did hear that there was chatter that other teams had been talking to the Houston Texans on day one of the draft about a possible Deshaun Watson trade. They were still fielding calls for Deshaun Watson. I just wanted your input on that and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be interest in Deshaun Watson just because everybody knows, however, this case goes with Deshaun Watson in the court system, he's going to end up being back on the NFL field at some point or another, whether that's a year or two down the line, he will be available. And at that point, he'll still only be 26 or 27 years old. He'll have plenty of time left in his career, and you can get him at a steal right now. The price for him has dropped tremendously. So I think that there is definitely some interest by some teams, and they're willing to wait on Deshaun Watson's availability if they can get him for such a cheap deal. They're willing to push off their rebuild or their championship window, whatever that may be. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for teams to now inquire about Deshaun Watson and feel and just get a feel for what his price is and where the Texans now stand on him. They originally said, we're not even going to listen to your calls. We're going to hang up on you right away. There's no way we're dealing him. I don't care if it's for 5, 6, 7 first round picks. We're not dealing him. Now that situation has changed. And so you got to reassess where they're feeling. Is he worth one first rounder? Is he worth any first rounders at this point? And so that's what teams are trying to figure out and get that baseline in their minds, because eventually Deshaun Watson will be out of Houston. They are not going to re-sign him to a long-term deal. He's not going to re-sign on a long-term deal. And so eventually they're going to try to capitalize on any return they can get from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I believe that Deshaun Watson will end up out of Houston at some point, and it makes me chuckle just a little bit because if Nick Caserio wasn't hard set on keeping Deshaun Watson, if he was willing to listen to trade offers and really start going into what it would take to get him out of Houston, there's a very easy potential that this could have been the problem for a team like the New York Jets, the San Francisco 49ers. This could have been it's somebody else's problem, and Nick Caserio would have had a haul of draft picks to work with. Instead, he decided to hold firm on his position of keeping Deshaun Watson in Houston, and this is where this is all led up.
I mean, Deshaun Watson is like cryptocurrency. You never know where it's going to go. Extremely volatile, and so you don't. You can make that bet that I'm going to hold on to this guy, thinking nothing is going to happen to him. But then a day later, news breaks that everything is going south for this guy, and now the price for him absolutely plummets, and you lose out on all that draft capital. It's the bet you have to take if you're the general manager. Nick Caserio made that bet, and he lost inevitably. But you know what? It could have worked out either way. It just didn't work out in his favor. So you sometimes you got to take those risks. Sometimes you're not going to win them, but it's all about how you rebound from those mistakes, from those situations. So now taking a guy like Davis Mills, bringing in Tyrod Taylor, they have backups. They have a plan in place. They know what direction they're trying to go in. And they went very strong in this free agency, signing 16 plus players to completely overhaul this roster, bringing in Dave Coley as their new head coach to somehow bring all these guys in, take them under one system, and make them work in unison. It's a huge undertaking, but it's something that they feel can be done in a couple of years. And so having that quarterback in place in the next couple of years is what they need. So having Tyrod Taylor there, having Davis Mills there, they can start to groom those guys, get them comfortable in the system, and see where the chips may fall. But as of right now, Deshaun Watson is not in their plans.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to cover is the Houston Texans. You talked about the 16 players that they had signed in free agency. Well, most, if not all, of those players were signed to 1 to 2 year deals, And it's really just getting them to the salary cap floor where they can meet the minimum requirement for salary cap. And then next year, when cap space opens up, when they can finally start drafting players again and working around with this roster, getting it going to where it should be, I believe that that's when they're going to strike, and they're going to strike hard. They're going to go after top end free agents, do everything they can to get some of the guys that went back to their original teams on 1 year deals because the salary cap was so low this year.
Yeah, and you also have to look at these 16 players and say, hey, most of them are not starters. They are coming to this team and now being given that opportunity to start and make a name for themselves. So if if the Texans decide that these players were good enough in the 1 year we gave them, we can now bring them back on a cheap long-term deal because these players are going to be grateful for that opportunity. They're going to give a hometown discount to the Texans to stay with them and work in that system that worked for them in that 1 year. So, the players are getting the opportunity to play, and eventually the Texans are going to find some of these guys, work out in their system, and get them on cheap long-term deals.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.